I first read the script for Tsunami and got together with Rob Gillies and looked at the designs, the drawings, my heart actually sank. I went, oh my God, he has me in a shoebox, and it has 5 sides. It had a roof and a floor and 3 walls and 1 open side to shoot in. No windows, no practical lights, because when the ship's overturned, all the lights go out. And I thought, man, I am screwed here. What am I going to do?
I was walking around with that script for quite a while, and it was sort of there, and they were always threatening that we're going to make this show. And I used to say, this, you just can't make this show. This will be one that can't be made.
I think with Tsunami it was particularly hard for the cast because they were literally underwater all day. We'd go in there in the morning at call and they would be in the water all day. You know, I don't know how they didn't melt. You know, we'd get them out in between setups, you know, while we were relighting and whatever, but there wasn't a lot of change. Once you're in the boat and it's filled with water and it's overturned, it's going to stay that way the whole time. So we pretty much just kept shooting the whole time, you know, and it was very difficult for them. The crew were wearing wetsuits as well, you know. We were all, if I wanted to go and talk to an actor, I had to climb in the tank and wade through it, you know. It was difficult. Working in water is always...
Everybody keep calm.
Do you remember the water coming off the top of the
All
boat?
our bad memories have to do with water.
Yeah, that's so true.
Because human bodies are not meant to be cold and wet at the same time.
It's very tiring wading around in water. I mean, it's tough enough being on your feet all day, but when you just working against the force of water all day is very, very tiring.
Petrades, take this lever and get to work.
Spare me, almighty Poseidon, that I may praise your name forever.
Petrades, you take this lever and you get to work.
The important thing is that morale during that shoot stayed right up there.
We had Bruce with us.
Yeah, so it wasn't that bad, at least.
It's always good to have Bruce because he's such an
so
old pro,
professional.
and
You find the humor.
Bruce taught me a really good thing to do. Whenever they tell you, you're up, get in the freezing, you know, hurry up and lie down that freezing puddle of blood, that you go, great, I was hoping you'd say that. It was something like that. And just by saying the opposite of how you feel at that moment actually kind of makes it all right for a second.
When you design, you have to design these, the way you're going to shoot these scenes very, very carefully, because you have to be very specific about exactly what you need. There
were different sets. It was a standard old procedure, which is where you build the set like a box. It was set all in a studio, is like a box within a box, and so this one was like a box within another box, and that box was full of water, and then we just lowered the set progressively into it to get the water to rise.
The ship was slowly drifting down under the water, and I thought, I've got to get some kind of watery light effect in there, otherwise, I mean, literally it would be dark. All the practical lights had gone off because of water going everywhere, and they would have burned up the oxygen, so they would have turned them off anyway.
Just moving a camera around in water is very, very difficult, just keeping it dry, you know. We wanted tracking shots and moving shots and so on and so forth, Steadicam shots, all of that through debris in the foreground. It was difficult, and especially as the water level got higher and higher and higher, and there was less air, supposedly, that got pushed up further towards the roof. As the boat filled with water, it got much, much more difficult.
Make it now!
There's a story about the Tsunami episode that probably not a lot of fans know about, but it was a pretty dramatic event that happened.
Suddenly there was a sound like a pistol shot, followed by a rapid series of others that sounded like sort of light machine gun fire. It went bang, 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 bang.
What was that? Did you feel it? Some kind of jolt. You didn't feel it?
I did.
The engineer was sent for to come down as quickly as possible, before the engineer had even arrived, something went horrendously wrong and 20,000 litres of water burst out of the tank like a freight train.
Luckily it happened when it happened. If it had happened the next day when we'd had a crew and actors in there, it could have been very dangerous.
Talk about life imitating art, it was incredible. Great tidal waves swept around the studio, and picked up camera cases and sent them bobbing out the door. And I think 20,000 litres of water emptied themselves out of the tank in about 10 seconds.
I saw a staircase, a sort of a staging staircase, floating by as if it was in a river. It was a surreal experience, it really was. It took a long time to clean up, and when we did get back to work, I remember the slightest noise. If somebody dropped something, the whole crew would just jump. People were really twitchy for weeks afterwards.
There it is again. Didn't you feel that?
I think it's one of my favourite of the episodes of Xena that directed Tsunami. It was I like the claustrophobic nature of it. It was kind of more like a stage play than anything, because it's such a limited set. You know, there's so little room, but it just kind of condensed, I suppose, the relationships between the various people and the frictions and the tensions between them.